I just want to start off by saying, if you want to answer it, Dan, prepare to be disappointed. There just isn't one. I was an intern at Nickelodeon Studios for a year in 2005 for my degree in animation. I wasn't paid, of course. Most internships aren't, but did have some perks beyond education. To adults, it might not seem like a big one, but most kids at the time go crazy over it. Now, since I had to work directly with the editors and animators, I got to view the new episodes days before they aired. I'll get right to it without too many others. I can't do this!
Dude, it's
details.
so perfect. This is like 2014 creepypasta material right here.
Yeah.
This is what niggas went crazy over.
They had
It's
very
like
recently
the
made a
music,
SpongeBob movie,
everything.
and the entire staff was somewhat sapped of creativity, so it took them longer to start the season. But the delay lasted longer for more upsetting reasons. There was a problem with the Series 4 premiere to set everything back for several months. Me and two other interns were in the editing room along with the lead animators and sound editors for the final cuts. We received a copy that's supposed to be Fear of a Krabby Patty and gather around a screen to watch. Now, given that it isn't final yet, animators often put up a mock title card, sort of an inside joke for us, with phony, oftentimes lewd titles, such as How Sex Doesn't Work instead of Rockabye Bivalve, when SpongeBob Patrick adopted Sea Scallop. Fuck. Nothing particularly funny, but
You skip to the part where the creepy shit comes in.
Hold on, I gotta read the entire thing. So when we saw the title card, Squidward Suicide, we didn't think it was more than a morbid joke. One of the interns did a small throat laugh at it. The happy-go-lucky music plays as it is normal. The story began with Squidward practicing his clarinet, hitting a few sour notes like normal. We hear SpongeBob laughing outside. Squidward stops, yelling at him to keep it down as he has a concert at night and needs to practice. SpongeBob says okay and goes to see Sandy of Patrick. The bubble splash screen comes up and we see the ending of Squidward's concert. This is what things begin to seem off. While playing, a few frames repeat themselves, but the sound doesn't yet at this point. The sound doesn't at this point. Animation sound is synced up with animation, so yes, that's not common. When he stops playing, the sound finishes as if the skip never happened. There's slight murmuring in the crowd for they begin to boo him. Not normal cartoon booing that's common in the show, we can very clearly hear malice in it. Squidward's in full frame looks visibly afraid. Fuck! The shot goes to the crowd with SpongeBob's center frame, and he too is booing, very much unlike him. That isn't the oddest thing though. What's odd is that everyone had hyper-realistic eyes. Very detailed. Clearly not shots of real people's eyes. It's something a bit more real than CGI. The pupils are red. Some of us looked at each other, obviously confused since they weren't the writers. We didn't question its appeal to children yet. The shot goes to Squidward sitting on the edge of his bed, looking very forlorn. The view out of his porthole in the windows of a night sky, so it isn't very long after the concert. The unsettling part is at this point there's no sound. Literally no sound. Not even the feedback from the speakers in the room. It's as if the speakers are turned off, but their status showed them working perfectly. He just sat there, blinking, in silence for about 30 seconds, and he started to sob softly. He put his hands, tentacles, over his eyes and cried quietly for a full minute more. All the while, a sound in the background very slowly growing from nothing to barely audible. It sounded like a slight breeze through the forest. The screen slowly begins to zoom in on his face. By slow, I mean it's only noticeable if you look at the shots 10 seconds apart side by side. His sobbing gets louder, more full of hurt and anger. The screen then twitches a bit.
Holy shit, bro,
As if it twists in on itself for a split second, then back to normal. The wind through the trees sound slowly gets louder and more severe, as if a storm is brewing up somewhere. The eerie part is that this sound and Squidward sobbing sounded real, as if the sound wasn't coming from the speakers, as if the speakers were holes the sound was coming from, rather than through the other side. As good a sound as a studio likes to have, they don't purchase the equipment to be that good to produce that sound that quality. Below the sound of wind sobbing very faint, something sounded like laughing. It came at odd intervals and never lasted more than a second, so you had a hard time pinning it. We watched the show twice, so pardon me if things sound too specific, but I've had time to think about them. After 30 seconds of it, the screen blurred and twitched violently, and something flashed over the screen, as if a single frame was replaced. The lead animation editor paused and rewound frame by frame. What we saw was horrible. It was a still photo of a dead child. He couldn't have been more than 6. The face was mangled and bloodied, one eye dangling over his upturned face. Popped. He was naked down to his underwear.
Okay, nigga, back it up, bro.
Crudely cut open, the entrails laying beside him.
Back it up, bro, back it
On
up!
some pavement that was probably a road.
Shut up, bro!
The most upsetting part was that there was a shadow of the photographer. There's no crime tape, no evidence tags or markers. The angle is completely off for a shot designed to be evidence. It was seen a photographer was the person responsible for a child's death. We were of course mortified, but pressed on, hoping that was some sick joke. The screen flipped back to Squidward, still sobbing, louder than before, half body and frame. There was now appeared to be blood running down from his face from his eyes. The blood was also done in a hyper-realistic style, looking as if you touched it, you would get blood on your fingers. The wind sounded now as if it were of a gale blowing through the forest. There were even snapping sounds of branches. The laughing, a deep baritone lasting at longer intervals, coming more frequently. After about 20 seconds, the screen twisted again and showed a single frame photo. To editors reluctant to go back, we all were, but he knew he had. Nigga, back it up! This time the photo was
Dude,
of what
dude.
appeared to be a little girl, no older than the first child. She was laying on her stomach, her barrettes in a pool of blood next to her. Her left eye was
I remember just reading
popped
this.
out and popped, naked except for her
Oh
underpants.
gosh!
Her entrails were piled on top of her above another crude cut along her back. Again, the body was on the street. Nigga! And the photographer's shadow was visible. Very similar in shape and size to the first. I had to choke back and vomit, and one intern, the only female in the room, ran out. The show resumed. About 5 seconds after the second photo played, Squidward went silent, as did all sound, like it was when the scene started. What are you doing, nigga?
How many fucking songs are in here?
I don't know. He just stared at the screen.
Oh my gosh!
After about 10 seconds, he started sobbing, this time not covering his eyes. The sound was piercing and loud. The most fear-inducing of all was sobbing mix of screams. Tears and blood were dripping down his face at a heavy rate. The wind sound came back, and so did a deep voice laughing, and this time the steel photo lasted for a good 5 frames. Nigga. The animator was able to stop it in fourth and backed up.
Nigga, no, stop.
Nigga,
Nigga, don't do
I had to finish it!
it.
About the same age, and this time the scene was different. The entrails were just being pulled out from his stomach wound by a large hand. The right eye popped and dangling, blood trickling down from it. The animator proceeded. It was hard to believe, but the next one was different, but we couldn't tell what. He went on the next same thing. He went back to the first and played them quicker, and I lost it. I vomited on the floor. The animated sound editors gasping at the screen. The 5 frames were not as if they were 5 different photos. They were played out as if they were frames from video. We saw the hand slowly lift out the guts. We saw the kid's eyes focus on it. We even saw 2 frames of the kid beginning to blink. The lead sound editor told us to stop. He had to call in the creator to see this. Mr. Hillenberg arrived within about 15 minutes. He was confused as to why he was called down there, so editors continued the episode. Once a few frames were shown, all screaming, all again, sound stopped. Squidward just staring at the viewer, full frame in the face for about 3 seconds. The shot quickly panned out, and that deep voice said, "Do it." And we see in Squidward's hand a shotgun. He immediately puts the gun in his mouth and pulls the trigger. Realistic blood and brain matter splatters the wall behind him in his bed, and he flies back at the force. The last 5 seconds of this episode show his body on the bed on his side, one eye dangling from what's left of his head above the floor, staring blankly at it, and the episode ends. Mr. Hillenberg is obviously angry at this. He demanded to know what the heck was going on. Most people left the room at this point, so it was just a handful of us to watch again. Viewing the episode twice only started to imprint the entirety of it in my mind and caused me horrible nightmares. I'm sorry I stayed. The only theory you could think of is that file was ended by someone in a chain for drawing studio to hear. The CTO was called in to analyze when it happened. The analysis of the file did show us edited over by new material. However, the timestamp was a mere 24 seconds before we began viewing it. All equipment of all was examined for foreign software and hardware as well as glitches, as the timestamp may have been glitched and showed the wrong time, but everything checked out fine. We don't know what happened. To this day, nobody does. There was an investigation due to the nature of the photos. Nothing came of it. No child's scene was identified. No clues were gathered from the data involved, nor physical clues in the photos. I never believed in unexplainable phenomena before. Now I have something happen and can't prove anything about it besides anecdotal evidence. I think twice about things, and that's it.
Wow. Powerful.
That actually,
Powerful.
that was actually worse than I remember, in terms of like the.
No,
fucking
no, that's
lore
how I
and
remember
everything.
it. I remember it